Tim will be singing a couple.
Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, yeah. Maybe there's too much bottom end and a little bit high mids or something. Hello, hello. Yeah, 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 yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Is it a gate or something? Hey, hey, hey. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. I just want to make sure the words get out. Hey, hey, hey. Yeah. Does that seem audible? I mean, discernible? Maybe it's just me and my voice. I don't understand myself. All right. I'll trust you. Thank you. Hey, hey, hey. Yeah. That's better. Thank you. Hey, hey.
So when you and I are just chatting as people, do you want to stay here with your stuff? Okay, so I'll, and I'm fine too. That can be a repository for stuff, but we can just, however you want to do it is fine. I'll match what you're doing. Yeah. The most unlikely place to find God is. That's the first one. This is the second. Oh,
Hey, 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 hey. Yeah. Okay. Hello, hello. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey. Yeah. Yeah, it is. I'm going to write a song for you. Hey, hey, hey. Yeah, oh, we have too many of these mustard-colored thermos. Right. Oh, yeah, that is yours. Mine's down there. By the end, I'm going to have all three of these. All right, thank you. these crumbling yellow fields, these crumbling yellow fields. Blessed are you when you are gentle with your conflicted, mysterious life. You see the maestro also falling in love with dissonance. And I wish for strong wings, sinew to sunlight, above and farther than these crumbling yellow fields. And I wish for strong wings, sinew to sunlight, above and farther than these crumbling yellow fields. These crumbling yellow fields. You're welcome to sit wherever you'd like. You're welcome to stand in the corner. You're welcome to pull a chair right up in the middle. Or sit right where you are. We're just glad you're here this morning. Spring is springing. When I was shown the face of God for the first time, I was torn up in some cornfield in Wisconsin. I was lost alone. I was talking flat on my back. I was not walking. It's when I was shown the face of God for the first time. Then I seen the face of God 4 times last year. 2 times in the mountains. Once down at the pier, and when a child was born to us, that's when it all came clear that I'd seen the face of God 4 times last year. I like the little. Well, it's a joy to be here. Greg and I have been talking this week.
Leave your shoes and your old concepts of God at the door.
Hang your heavy identities on the coat rack. You simply don't need those things here.
It's much too warm in this house for all the facade that you've been bundling up in.
If you come with pain, let's use it to light a fire in this old hearth. Sharing this flame puts it in its rightful place, where our humanity can gather around it together and sing.
Leave your shoes and your old concepts of God at the door. Let's see what wonders emerge when we let our souls and our feet free to finally begin to dance.
Good morning, Fabric. I'm Jessie Stenross, here today with my husband, Bill, who actually just ran away, and Eli, Isaac, and Owen are my boys. There's one of them. Oh, okay, they're all leaving. Something that I just want to share with you this morning about something I love about Fabric is just having a strong community, and especially having other adults that aren't in our family who care about my kids. It's just a really unique and powerful thing. So I'm grateful for that all the time. Speaking of kids, welcome to all the kids today. If you are a kid, this part is for you. Did you know that you are time traveling today? This is the last week to time travel, so go enjoy this amazing experience. It's now time for you guys to all head to the museum to prepare for your journey back in time. Welcome to everybody else. We have coffee today and water over here, so feel free to grab something. Bathrooms are down the hall as well, down back here to the left. Sunday paper has a lot of stuff in it this week. So one thing you'll see is the financial update. We as a community are the ones who make Fabric happen. This year, it's our time and energy and commitment and investments that make this all possible. So each year we challenge ourselves to review our giving in the context of our overall financial health, individually and together, and that's going to be happening at the end of April. And Easter is next Sunday as well, so looking forward to that and seeing all the grass that people have been growing all together. There's also a ton of fabric-y fun stuff happening around town this week. Music with the Matt Herzog Band is happening at the Driftwood Bar. The band is backed up by a ton of lovely Fabric folks, so I'm excited about that. And our very own middle schooler, Ethan Berg, his seed project is a 5K that he's organized himself. There's a QR code in your Sunday paper to sign up for that, and it would be so great. Matt Herzog's here himself. In person. We were just talking about your concert. Friday night, it's going to be wonderful. And probably autographs will probably be available later if you'd like. And then our communication card, just a great way to share what's on your minds, questions, prayers, thoughts, feedback. Be sure to just fill out that you're here. We just want to know you're here. So we have a very special guest who you met with his lovely music already this morning. Tim Francic is here today. So welcome, Tim, and thank you.
Listen. Hey, good morning, Fabric. I'm Greg Meyer. Good to see you all here. despite our best efforts, like nobody sat back here anyway. We tried to do everything to get us to wrap around a little bit more. That's okay. That's okay. I don't have to sit in my seat. You're welcome to move. I don't have to sit in my spinning stool as much. But yeah, so it's a different kind of day. For those of you who are new, or first time, or haven't been here much, we try to evade the formula anyway, but today's a little different. So if you're looking like, how come they didn't finish the curtains? That's actually on purpose, all right? So we've been talking for these last weeks about something called AKA God, also known as God. Like, how are all the ways? We all build these God boxes we live in, and we need them because we have to be able to talk and think about all this God stuff. But we also know that it's always really limiting. And so our God boxes, if you want to talk about it, are always in a state of being torn down and put up. So the big quiz, and you can answer this on your communication card, is the room being torn down yet, or is it still being put together? Or is there really a difference between the two? So that's the idea. We're just trying to make an unfinished idea.
Yeah, and I'm so happy to be here with you, Greg, and I love this community. I get to join you a few times a year at least, and I love it. I go by Brother Timothy out in the music world because it's not a religious term. It's that I hope and want to suggest that we're all related siblings, and we can also suggest that to the trees and the river that flow through here. And so our siblingness is here with us. I love this noble work of redefining something as big or small as God.
Simple or complex.
Yeah, and that whole redefinition is in the culture right now on so many levels. It's such noble and important work, I think. So I wanted to bring a couple thoughts. I was listening, one of my heroes is John O'Donohue. He passed away in 2008 or 7. He, like Krista Tippett, did a great interview with him a couple different times. But I was listening to an interview and he said this recently. And he was a Catholic priest for a long time and then left that and became more of a poet and philosopher. And he said that people have left the God question. He was talking about people leaving, their religion. Basically, that's what's happening in Europe, and that's what's happening here. People have left the God question because it's been so poorly framed by our culture. The God question has been so poorly framed in my own heart and in our culture. And I'm going to bring that up, if I can remember, a few times this morning. I think that's a statement. And then other than that, it's Easter week. Geez, we got this opportunity. Our familiar story, our God is going to die on Friday. And we'll maybe let our unhelpful, and we don't always, that's all right. Maybe.
I think that was the audio version of being struck by lightning.
Maybe I should just stop then.
No, I keep going. I'm liking it.
Well, we have the opportunity to take it as a ritual and let the unhelpful parts, and we don't always know what those are, but say a prayer, a mystical prayer. All the unhelpful parts of God, goodbye, go away on Friday. And the ones that rise up, whatever rises up on Sunday morning, can be something new and shining in this time for us.
New and shiny and full of hope and promise and worth chasing down.
Yeah.
At least until you find out they were leading you someplace else. Maybe to another death and resurrection. But yes. So the last couple of weeks we have been looking like those 3 letters G-O-D. We use them and my experience is that the majority of our neighbors and our family members and maybe a majority of our own selves have tuned out and are turned off by God talk, because we know what people think and it's way too superficial, it's way too nice and tidy, and we disagree and have arguments and we just forget it, it's not worth it. But I don't think this longing for life to make sense and for that something to connect us and to make things real is there. So how can we explore that? And we've talked the last couple of weeks about how the Bible's vision of what God is so much bigger than what we've reduced it to. And if we could just like start to capture what's actually there, it starts just blowing things open for us and making these wonderful frontiers. And then, like I said, it's also, it's just so loaded with baggage that it isn't God talk as per se isn't effective anymore. So how can we claim something for ourselves and explore that? And we've talked about the last couple of weeks, and this is a kind of a workshop. This is a chance for each of us to figure out like what could die and what might rise again. And we're not trying to turn this into a big heady thing. You're not going to walk out of here with your systematic theology, and that's maybe even part of the problem. But to have different types of experiences that help you understand where you're at and what feels lively, what can we learn from each other a little bit. So we're going to give you a couple of different experiences and we're kind of going things. So we've got this great musician, Brother Tim, who's with us today, and we're hardly going to do any music. And it's partly because we don't have to do music, but partly because he's also got laryngitis. So, that's okay. We can roll with this stuff, right? So we've got a great morning figured out for us. And what I would like us to do is to take our first practice. So you got a Sunday paper when you came in, and if you did pick one up because you say, I don't need one, well, you'd need one. So it looks like Melissa's jumping into action to hand them out. So up in the top right corner, there's a head with a bunch of speech bubbles there. And I'd like each of you to take a little bit of time to think about this. The question there is, God is, so this is kind of your baseline. When you just walk in, when someone says God to you, what populates your head and your heart, all right? This isn't just a head thing, this is a head and a heart thing. So these might be ideas, it could be words.
Could be from your childhood, the things that jump into your image, whether you agree with them now or not, and then
But you know they're there.
Yeah, ideas about God.
Could be places, experiences, might be emotions you feel. It could be who knows? You're not restricted to 6, but feel free to do it. Also, just 2 things to know. There are 4 tables around the room, kind of on the outside with art supplies. If you want to approach it that way, and you want to go use some crayons and some other paper and stuff like that, just head on over there whenever you want. Also, what you're doing now isn't going to be shared. I mean, you might want to say something to someone else about it, but we are not asking you to share this. So Tim was trying to get sent pass it to the person on the right.
Yeah.
They have a red pen, but we're not doing that. Okay?
So for about a few minutes of writing and thinking here?
Yeah, so take a couple of minutes. And what are the things that fill your head and your heart when you start thinking about God? How are you doing?
I'm
Do
good.
you have anything?
Well, yeah. I decided to visit my childhood room, and there is a picture of Jesus. Maybe some of you have seen this. And he had his hand on my shoulder. That's who I thought was the guy driving, steering the ship. That was me. And then Jesus had his hand there. And he looked a lot like Bjorn Borg, this Jesus. You know, blonde, blue-eyed. But I was thinking about that picture, so actually.
Yeah. It's mine too. Is I thought about we had a beautiful sanctuary in the church that I grew up in, and it was a fascinating place for a kid just to look and to see everything. And I was always too warm, and always a little bit bored.
Yeah.
And always waiting for the parts of the service that I liked, and that does preoccupy me. But if it was a comfortable place, is this? Yeah, it was. But I have a hard time, even a couple years after my childhood now, separating my ideas about all of this God stuff from how I felt when I was 6 years old, sitting leaning on my mom's shoulder. Yeah. Anybody have something that you want to just toss out, or a maybe a reflection about even trying to do it? Be brave and shout it out. Got a quiet crowd.
Yeah, I mean, today's going to be like a lot of interaction things like this, and you can encounter yourself there and maybe others, but if you want to share something, feel free. We'd love that. We'd love that. We're all in this together. Yeah, go ahead.
So I don't have a childhood vision. I didn't grow up in a strict church, and so like all of my reflections are like present day.
Yeah.
Like what I'm coming to know as God, because I didn't have a relationship or an understanding really of God up until I came here.
So she was sharing that she didn't grow up in a church and part of a formal religious experience, so didn't have those childhood experiences and was developing it now, which I think is kind of interesting, because I think a lot of the church, the typical churches rely on that acquired taste, like you grew up with that, and that's what they're trading off of to get you involved. And so what do we do with people like you, other than invent something new, right? Or you can.
And it's a wonderful sort of maybe more unique place to come from. It's an important voice that you bring with a clean slate, maybe.
And probably quickly becoming the most common experience too.
I would say though it's not a completely clean slate, because of course you pick up.
Yes.
Right?
Not a completely clean slate. Yeah.
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 Anyone else notice anything from what they wrote, or how they felt doing it? Even, was it easy? Was it hard? Yeah.
Divided into two. So the bubbles
Yeah.
are what I think God is, so to speak. And then in between the bubbles, I put what society or other people may think God is. So some are like confusing, problematic, scary, versus, nature, love, speaking softly. So it's kind of.
He did a nice counterpoint with what society might think, and his ideas were these beautiful, simpler ideas of God. Thank you. I think in our culture it's good to have a good distrust for too much harmony in these spaces. So I'm always looking for someone to shake it up a little bit too. Yeah.
I think through my childhood till now, and that roller coaster of a relationship with
is love. That's nice. Abstract, sort of.
But if you can make one simple statement about God, that's not a... Boy.
Yeah, and we handle the word love way too weirdly in our culture. It's all over the place and bastardized and messed up. So how do we refresh that on Easter morning too?
I relate to the roller coaster ride that Jim mentioned.
Relate
too.
to the roller coaster. Yeah. One of my thought bubbles was probably colored a little bit by what I said in introducing this, but that the whole God thing is something that I feel often disconnects me. Like, it's really fun going to a party and telling people you're a pastor. You can just imagine some of the conversations. So it can be like a real disconnect for me because I know other people don't see it, and I know that for me to explain what I think about or why I'm a pastor they don't have that much time. So why even try to go there? But then I also find that you are probably some of the people I'm the most deeply connected with in my life, and it's because of whatever that also known as God thing is. So there's that weird disconnect and super connect. Feel free to keep working with this.
There were more hands.
Oh, there are more hands? Oh, okay, I don't want to.
Jesse has her hand up.
Jesse?
Just talk. You don't need to wait. Go.
Newborn babies, when what came to my mind, especially as I was looking over at sweet baby Lydia.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, that's God right there.
Yeah.
There we go.
There's God right there, the little baby. And why are little babies more God? They're closer, I think. They just came from the place, maybe.
They haven't picked up all the complications of the world. They are much more simple in their needs and their
Yeah.
expressions.
Yeah. They start simple, and then we layer stuff on, and hopefully as life goes on, we can start stripping that away again. Yeah. Others?
One thing I wrote was rules, laws, and commandments.
Ooh.
Go back to when I was a kid.
Yeah, let's get back to that. rules, laws, and commandments that you grew up with as a kid.
Similarly, I had two words that were opposites that were on the page. One was judgmental, and then the other one was forgiving.
Judgmental and forgiving.
Judgmental, forgiven.
So we can have a lot more time for this, so keep working with this. We'd like you to try something else that is going to touch all this a little bit differently. So this is a head, hopefully a heart, but a head and a heart thing, but very much a processing and word-oriented stuff. So Tim, can you walk us a different way of thinking about this? And
So one of the things that I do every Saturday morning, and you're all freaking invited because I would love it if you'd come, over at Kieran's Kitchen Northeast in Minneapolis, we sing together. And we call it perfection-free singing because that's exactly what it is. Some people come and don't sing because, of course, half of singing is listening. And then some people come and just sing and make their own harmonies. That's the thing I've started to learn over the years, singing with people, especially if it's improv-y and simple. That sound is like medicine for me in our culture right now. Whoever's singing is bringing themselves, trying to complement, trying to balance, and we make something that we won't make again. And we'll do that now. And I have this simple song. I know there are a few singers here. I would love it if you'd kind of join in and maybe take your mask off if you're one of the song leaders. There are 3 or 4, and just so people can see your lips. And it's the most simple thing. It comes from a wonderful singer named Deva Premal. Maybe you know her. She and her husband Mitten, they do chanting. She's out of Europe somewhere. But he created this beautiful chant, and it's just about the ocean. And then we throw an Alleluia in there too. So we'll see how this goes. And what I would love is if you feel like it, you could stand where you are. I guess we're in a circle. And during this time, we'll kind of take some time with this. At first, it'll be like a little deer that's starting to stand up and wobbly. And then all of a sudden, it'll get stronger. And you'll find your place in it. If you feel like you want to come to the center and just listen, you will be healed, I promise, if you come to the center and just listen. Because you'll hear the whole community coming at you. And if you're singing, you can listen across the circle or listen to your own heart or however it is. But it's just the simplest act ever. We're all singers when we're that age, and up till about 5 or 6 until we go like, holy crap, maybe I suck. And then we stop singing half the time. So I just want to go back to that time where just feel free with trying stuff. And in community singing, if you try something and it doesn't go well, everybody else is doing pretty well. And so it doesn't suck. You can try stuff. That's the beauty of community. I'm going to put this on now, and you can turn off my my mic so I don't do something too tramply. So this is... So maybe we'd stand where you are. And if you're one of the people that know this song, you come down to the center. It's the pocket bell, I think, progression. So it goes 1, 2. There is so much magnificence. Maybe I'll use this mic a little bit. Near the ocean, waves are coming in. Waves are coming in. That's it right there. Wait, 1, 2. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in. Waves are coming in. Twice as loud. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in. Waves are up an octave if you can. There is so much magnificence. Oh, it's starting to hatch now. Near the ocean. Waves are coming in. Waves are coming in. Now listen to this. Nice and strong again. Find your harmonies. Let's do this now. really strange harmony. One more just to take home in your heart. Let's do one without the words, just just to strip it all away. Here's a poem by Chellan Harkin. The worst thing we ever did. The worst thing we ever did was put God in the sky out of reach. Pulling the divinity from the leaf, sifting out the holy from our bones, insisting God isn't bursting dazzlement through everything we've made. A hard commitment to see as ordinary, stripping the sacred from everywhere to put in a cloud man elsewhere. Stripping the sacred from everywhere to put in a cloud man elsewhere. Prying closeness from your heart. The worst thing we ever did was take the dance and the song out of prayer. Made it sit up straight and cross its legs, removed it of rejoicing, wiped clean its hip sway, its questions, its ecstatic yowl, its tears. The worst thing we ever did is pretend God isn't the easiest thing in the universe, available to every soul in every breath.
You're welcome to stay standing, or you can have a seat. Just two reflections on that song. I don't know what you experienced of the eternal there, or anything. You don't need to know. But two thoughts. Hallelujah. We talked the first week particularly, and often you hear me. My favorite way of referring to God is by the name that is introduced in the Old Testament, I am who I am, which is the word Yahweh in Hebrew. And it's what gets translated as the Lord in English, but it's I am who I am. And hallelujah is in Hebrew, Hallel, praise, Yahweh, I am who I am, praise, I am who I am. And there's something so simple about those syllables. Tim was talking to me, sharing with me about how the sound is that when you don't use any muscles in your voice and you just let a sound come out, it's the sound. Alleluia, Yahweh. So,
I'm a teacher. I'm a grade school teacher often, and I am right now. In first grade at Waldorf School, they teach that the vowels come somewhere from the ether, from the heavens, and the consonants are here of the earth. But it also is taught that, the ah is the most natural sound. Without any muscles, you can make a ah. as you said, in Yahweh, Hallelujah, these effortless words.
The other part of that song that we sang was the waves are coming in, the waves are coming in. The tides are relentless since the beginning of time. They have never stopped. The moon pulling at the water and moving the water. And we all kind of know that. We recognize that. We can see that. What you maybe don't know, though, that is there are earth tides, too. The moon also pulls on the earth. In fact, New York City rises and falls 14 inches twice every day with its own tide. Did you know that?
Wow, cool.
You didn't know that, and it's going on. It is not part of your reality, but it is part of your reality. There are so many things about how this world and our universe is woven together. That's a technical thing. But God is bigger than G-O-D. So hopefully there's a chance to get a little piece of that. We'd like you to take some time writing, drawing to a prompt right now, okay? And just free form. There's you can use space. You can actually on your paper. There's this very weird shape on the bottom left, and there's a place you can do that. But that's just to try to get you a little bit more free form. You can do it anywhere you want. You can go to the art tables and work there to do it too. And the prompt is simply this: the most unlikely place to find God would be. So where's the most unlikely place to find God? And so the idea is like, name a place, I'll say the New York Stock Exchange. Or how about on a plane that's dropping bombs on Ukraine right now? And so maybe you write that, but then follow that. Well, so what does it mean that God isn't there? And is it possible that there isn't a place that, like, why can't God be there? And if God were there, what? I don't know, but just start chasing that thought down and spend some time. If you want to, well, I don't know. So is that simple enough?
Yeah, and I think, let me interject one twist to this idea. So I'm a lover of like almost automatic writing, like try to let your hand go ahead of your brain. Start with this prompt that Greg gave you about where you don't think God would be, most unlikely place, but then just let it go. See where it goes into your life, away from your life. Let the words come. And I want to, with that writing, to be writing the whole time with your non-dominant hand. So then you're going from the other side of the brain. And you know, what was that?
Just pretend this is your non-dominant hand.
If you want to do that, you can do that.
So it'll slow you down a little in a good way too. But keep the pen moving, and let's just have fun with this and write. Not going to show it to anyone unless you want to. Maybe later, it's up to you.
So take a few minutes and work. I'm gonna bring you back. Looking at the clock here, I'm hoping you find that interesting. I noticed that I have a cramp in my left hand now. I was halfway through, I realized if I start writing right to left, it works much easier. It was twice as fast and still not legible. But the awkwardness and the slowness of it, before I could even finish the line, the most unlikely place to find God, my whole frame of thinking about the question, and I'd had a lot of time thinking about this question ahead of time, changed. It's like, I don't know that. What did you have anything pop up at you?
Well, I always find myself back in about first grade. You know, the letters are so big and hard to make. I enjoy that, and I just I like to see what comes.
Yeah.
But I'd love to hear from anyone if they were surprised. You can read your thing, and maybe there's even just one line that was like, "Whoa, that's good," or "That's poignant," or "That's ugly," and maybe you want to share that with us. You're free to at this point. I'm happy to do it but we also like awkward silence here. Yeah.
It's easy out, but
Uh-huh.
hard to see it.
Mhm.
But I'm a social worker, and part of my job is to look and look together.
Mhm.
And where is the good in there? And that's, I guess, then where I do see that. So,
Mm.
talking with my kids about war and looking for the good moments. Mr. Rogers brings that
Yeah,
up.
Mr.
Big one,
Rogers.
yeah.
Yeah, so tell
But
me
it's
your,
hard to see it sometimes.
yeah, and your name is?
Jessie.
Jessie is a social worker, and in her job, she has to flip the story and to see where there's good in, or a silver lining, or however that works.
Because the temptation to see evil as a place, but somehow God has to be there, right?
Mm.
Yeah, there has to be, yeah.
Thank
Other
you.
thoughts? Yeah, Jesse. We're just hearing from Jesse's this morning, by the way.
If your name is Jessie, get ready.
I started with Putin, and then that went to right-wing sympathizers.
Mm.
That went to churchgoers.
Mm.
There are a lot more churchgoers. And then that went to brainwashed to believe. And then that went down to pastors that have immense power to tell the truth.
Mm. So you made it all the way from Putin to this room. That's good.
And it didn't even take the 6 connections to.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you. Yeah.
So yeah, following that chain from the obvious to more seemingly innocent, and the weight that we all have.
So I've always kind of felt like it was hard for me to think of a place because I've always felt like you find God kind of in the darkest places. So I kind of went with more like actions like oppression and hate and greed, selfishness,
Mm.
racism, and everywhere.
Mhm. So actions like hate, racism, oppression, places you wouldn't expect to find God. Thank you.
I started thinking about the word find and how find is kind of like discovering something that's hidden. And I kept thinking about bad things and what makes God hidden and coming up with hate and fear and these sorts of things. And so to discover God, if you're in hate and fear, etc., that's where you discover God from, because you're somewhere where you're cut off. And so I was kind of finding the sin words, quote unquote, kind of like Christianity could be a bad word, sin could be a bad word. But if that's just being cut off from God, then maybe the most it's not the most unlikely place to find God. It's the place where it's the most important to find God. Those places where you're cut off from God. And then I just kind of went in circles there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Starting with the word find, and what that means, there's something has to be missing
Yeah.
to trigger that search, and so that's very good. That's very good. Wow. I could write about that one for a long time, especially with my left hand.
I think I went down a similar path with a lot of people and thought about actions, specifically actions that I felt were harmful to others or the world. And then as I was doing it, I realized that basically I was just being judgmental.
Mm.
And just, God isn't in places where, like, God is in places that I like. God isn't in places that I don't. And it's just something that I'm
Yeah.
investigating.
Thank you.
It started with places where, how did you say it at the beginning?
Like actions that
Actions.
cause harm to others or the world.
So it started with actions that are causing harm to others and to the world, but realizing that that was making you feel judgmental, and then I think that's where it's so helpful to slow yourself down, to start chasing those thoughts and understanding where they're coming from.
So we've had wonderful thoughts from here, but I also like to hear about what it was like to write with your non-dominant hand, and if that related at all to this, or what was it? Yes. A poem, good.
And it's based on the New York Stock Exchange.
Oh, wow. Do you want to talk? I don't know how we do this.
Here, let me give her this one.
Yeah.
Can you make this one live?
I don't know.
That's all right. It's just, we
It's
can't
so
repeat
great
it.
though when you get a poem like in the last 5 minutes, then everyone has this sort of forgiveness factor, right? I mean, just go for it. It's awesome.
I said the New York Stock Exchange. All those men and women working for money where meaning used to be. What hole did we create when we said, don't cry? Be like Batman. How can we love you back to wholeness, I guess? I can't read my writing.
Surprise.
That was awesome so far. Could be done.
What? Oh, there was a minute when everything stopped. When you called your wives, your kids, your mom. You hugged your coworker and held them in your eyes for maybe the first time. No pats on the back. You said, I love you.
Oh gosh, would you read it one more time now that you got the flow? It's not very long. It's wonderful.
All those men and women working for money where meaning used to be. What hole did we create when we said, don't cry, be like Batman? How can we love you back to wholeness? There was a minute, a time, when you called your wives, your kids, your mom, when you hugged your coworker with no slaps on the back, held them in your eyes for maybe the first time, and said, I love you.
I guess church is over. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for just tossing it out there. It just came to you. That's how.
So
It's just great.
I wish we had a little bit more time, but I want to take our about 5 minutes and then we'll be finished. But first of all, I just remind you, your communication cards and the offerings you have, they're offering baskets, and we'd love just to hear feedback, ideas, thoughts, whatever that came to mind for you today. And you can do it afterwards too and just send them on to us. But prayer concerns that you would have, please use those communication cards for that, and with your dominant hand so that we can read them. And yeah, and your financial gifts, certainly, if you give that way, we appreciate that as well. But so last thing what I'd really like us to do, because I think I want us to get a chance to do this, is, and I'm going to make my explanation as short as I can, and that is, you have had a goosebump moment with God, a time when there was an aha, an insight, a metaphor that just came alive. And to use our metaphor from last week, that was the moment when you saw beyond the God box that you normally operate in, and it's just like, wow. So take a moment and consider that, what that might be, and then find one person next to you or close to you and just share a piece of it. We don't have enough time to, and then just listen. No questions, just listen to what that was, and then trade places, okay? So, is that clear enough? What was an aha, an insight? Boy, if you didn't get goosebumps, you're probably in a really warm place. Go ahead, do that. And you don't have to share if you don't want to. You're welcome to just have your thoughts and not share them with another person. This is certainly I invite you to stretch, but it's a safe place here, but you certainly don't have to do that. I think if you're going to do a home office, it's good to just put the people back for next week. So, yeah, we don't, I think we want to be done in 5 minutes because kids. Yeah, it'll be on the podcast. Editing this podcast will be an interesting challenge. People to go sit with someone they didn't come with just to shake it up a little more, but I was trying to keep it as simple as possible. Constructions, it's misunderstanding, 2,000 years and stuff like that. It's like, it's out. I'm not going to leverage it, and the pushback I got from people, and it just probably made me dig in a little bit, but also just like challenged me about, still, nothing they're saying makes me feel anything differently about it. But it's like, never went back. I got to pull us back because I think there's some kids that need to get picked up and so on as well. Just a minute, but I want to thank you for that. And what you just did, we talk about weaving the 3 strands of self, others, and God together. But what we don't talk about quite as often is putting a knot in it, the knotting. And that is what you talked about. What you shared was a knot experience for you. That's why you could recall it right now. And those knots are really, really important. You can distinguish them. Years later, you recall them. And they help hold those strands together. They help hold your weaving together. And those stories should be told. That's why all the weavings that might be in here, I all become indistinguishable. But this knot, I remember. And I enjoy it. Didn't have any trouble recalling it and sharing that story with Tim. Have those knots in your rope. Remember those. Share those stories. Celebrate them with others. They belong to us they're your experience, but the community needs them. We want to Tim, can you close us with?
I just have a little poem I'd like to end with. This is from Rumi, Jalaluddin Rumi, 13th century mystical poet. He didn't write things down, he just talked and people wrote things down in what's now Afghanistan. And he's talking about religion, he's talking about yearning here at the beginning. He says, I've lived on the lip of insanity, wanting to know reasons, knocking on a door. It opens. I've been knocking from the inside. I have lived on the lip of insanity, wanting to know reasons, knocking on a door. It opens. I've been knocking from the inside. So opening the door in the God box, I guess.
Thank you for the thing. So thank you for being Fabric with us today. I hope something of what we did helped weave what might have frayed in your life and be a part of that process. Next week is Easter. We are talking about not then and there, but here and now. We're going to celebrate what rises out of those ashes, so it comes out of that death, and celebrating that together. So go and be Fabric. Do some good weaving this week. Tell us your stories, share your stories, and thank you for being with us. I'll see you next Sunday.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
it's a pleasure to be here.
Congratulations to all of you for the work you did today. Thanks for, you did the heavy lifting, folks.